I'm
Absolutely.
here to go.
Absolutely. We are going to be in the driver's seat and running this thing. It is Tuesday night. I'm used to being on Wednesday. Tuesday
Get
night.
ahead of yourself.
Yeah, February the 16th. And we are live in a couple of different places. We're live on our Team Elevation team page. We're also live on the Team Elevation YouTube channel. And for those of you who later may want to share this, obviously, whether you're watching this live or watching the recording, let us know in the comments. And if you want to share the video, obviously the team page, as we talk about, is private, but the YouTube channel is not. And so you can always go to the YouTube channel and share the YouTube video from there. We've got AJ Vach joining us this morning. There's Sven. Sven, what are you doing up this late?
He's up in the middle of the night over there in the UK, isn't he?
Yes, he is. Hey, I'm going to watch. Kudos to you over there, big guy. And we've got Wyatt on and Annette Paz on. And so lots of people joining us from all over the internet. We appreciate that, even from the UK. And so, we talked about doing this a couple of months ago and just coming together once a month on the third Tuesday of the month to be able to just kind of just an update of what's going on in the company, any news or things like that. And I know that the biggest update or biggest thing that we've had to be able to talk about, obviously, is that the event this past Saturday.
Wow.
What an amazing event. We had an amazing number of people, as you and I were talking about on there, from all over the world joining us. And the excitement has been just through the roof. I know the big question I got is, because everybody is so excited about it and talking about it, is there were obviously some people who, for whatever reason, weren't able to make it, whether they were working a job and or whatever the case may be. And everybody's saying, hey, are we going to be able to see a recording? And I have said, well, I'm not sure. But I think that we're trying to work something like that out. Is that right?
Yeah, we are. And so let me just say, it was great. And a big thank you to you, Alan, and some of the others I see on here that are chiming in, that participated and gave up their time to speak. I thought it was a great event. I mean, the energy of it, right? So, I mean, even though here we are in a sort of 2D electronic world, you could feel the energy. And I'll be candid, originally we did not think we would make it available near term. It's a big file, right? I mean, there's just some stuff there, but I believe they are going to try to get it available this week. It was so well attended. We know anybody sort of logging on after it started probably didn't get on because it exceeded the setup. And so we'll get that together, but just big thank you for both the presenters and the people participating.
Yeah. And see, there's Jana. She's tuned in on the YouTube channel.
Oh, there you go.
Good job. That was awesome. And it was an incredible event. And a big takeaway that I had a lot of people talking about was, they said, I'm just really excited about moving forward and some of the announcements. Whenever we talk about new products coming throughout the year, of course, our phones get lit up, like, oh my gosh, what is it? And when is it coming out? And I have to say that, I don't know, and I don't know when, but I know it's going to be exciting, because we always, I remember when CBD came out and how exciting that was, and what a big boost it does. But, with the product line that we have, Eddie, one of the things that I really like about this company and what we're doing is you said to me years ago, Alan, because you see these companies it's almost like they come out with products because they feel like they have to. Like, I got to put something new out. And you've always said to me, and this is something I guess we can relate to them, because, again, I don't know what products you have in the hopper, and I don't worry about that for now because our products sell so well. But you said to me, Alan, you don't ever have to worry. We're always going to stay in our lane. So what does that mean to the people who are listening?
Well, it's a good question, and it's an important question. Maybe even some of our business builders, maybe you've not fully thought about this, but just remember that people that are joining your business, right? They're joining one thing, and I believe it's a little arrogant to all of a sudden become another thing, sort of right before their very eyes. And I've been a part of companies when I was on the other side of the screen, and I certainly didn't appreciate it because most people are doing this on a part-time basis, right? And so their bandwidth for learning new things, not that they can't, right? But they want to be involved in productive activities. That was part of the presentations on Saturday, is to invest that schedule that you have, the limited time, into productive activities. And so we want to make sure that through what we do, we support that notion. And so for us, you've got detox, right? Which is this fundamental tip of the arrow, right? And lots of people get it in society, but there's also an education for others, not recognizing the disruptive role that toxins play in their health, right? It can damage DNA, accelerating disease, accelerating risk of cardiovascular disease, cancer, diabetes. It can accelerate aging. So there's all these factors, right? And we've made it a point to make sure that's a focus for us, right? And I don't believe we'd be true to ourselves if all of a sudden there's a new focus, right? Mm-hmm. Unless there's some technological breakthrough or something like that. But a lot of these things are really fundamental, right? It's about refinement, recognizing where people's diets are, what their exposures are on a day-to-day basis, and what we can do to continue to support their good health habits for them, for their kids, for themselves, their parents, brothers and sisters, these kinds of things. So that detox focus will remain. We're not all of a sudden going to have a new automobile tire next month, right? That's just not who we are or what we intend to be. So detox. And so I did talk about the fact we were going to release 3 products this year. And some of that's because we have a pipeline that got a little backed up last year. Not only did we experience a lot of growth, we also had some slowdown from just a regulatory paperwork standpoint with our products. Our certification of our CBD products really should have happened last summer, but anybody that's involved with state and federal agencies know that since COVID, appeared on the scene, right, everything slows down. And so we've got a little bit of a backup that will help us, increase this year's excitement, but we're going to stay true to the category of detox. There's some things we can do there that will be important tools for people in terms of managing their health. And then that build category, there's some room there. And so we've got some plans in that build category, sort of recognize what people's needs are. And then, of course, balance. Just look at the chaos of the past year, and you can just see how we need balance, right, to kind of hold it together. So that's what I mean by that, is making sure as a company with the decisions we're making, we're recognizing what it's like on the other side and what we need to do to make sure we're a partner, a platform helping, right, providing a tailwind to the efforts being made, instead of being this disruptive quality. And having grown 400% last year, right? Sure, 500% would be nice. I don't know, though, if I would still have any hair left, right? I'm already challenged in that regard. So, we'll continue to grow this year. It's already been this way since the start of the year, but that's what we mean by that, is staying true to who we are.
Yeah. I was with a company previously, and you and I have talked about this on several occasions, who came out with a new product, and they hyped it a lot, and they felt like it hit a particular segment in the marketplace. They were similar to us in that they classified themselves as a health and nutrition company and healthy products. And then they came out with what they considered was a healthy energy drink. And what it did was, more than anything, and listen, there was a lot of hype, there was a lot of marketing put behind it, there was a lot of information that was out there, but what it did more than anything was confuse the distributors and confused our customers. Because when you looked at the product and you look at the ingredients and you realize that it although they wanted to say it was a healthy energy drink, we had been talking about and teaching people what healthy truly was and how to read labels. And then all of a sudden we come out with this, and the grassroots, the foundation, the core of our business almost felt like that, okay, the company has gone in a different direction than we are, and we felt a little left behind. And it was devastating for that company. It really
Sure.
was. Yeah, devastating for their sales, devastating for their membership. There were people that were leaving and going other places for different reasons, but it was just chaos, and that clearly is not what their goal was. But
Right.
they stay in their lane, and that's one of the things that it is so positive here is that we hear so much about our marketing and how pure it is, like our products, and how we have. I know that the marketing team and what's being posted out there online, they always have a vision of how can we relate to our customer base, whether it be green, whether it be recyclable, whether it be focusing on organic, whole food, plant-based nutrition, and how we can help the world and help our environment as much as we do our people. And so that's always important.
Well, I'll give you an example. So, for me, at this point in life, I want to be knowledgeable about trends, right, and recognize them. I also want to make sure I'm well read and around people that are informed about things that we would describe as being cutting edge. But what I don't want to do is chase fads,
Right.
because by their very nature, they fade. And I don't want to be a party to this group of people that have entrusted us with their time, energy, and efforts, to have them chasing fads that we can't know how that plays out. I'll give you an example. We had 2 groups that we do some work with approach us with really great financial terms and deals to come out with hand sanitizers and masks last year because of the demand of the pandemic. And, candidly, I mean, you take a few moments and you see the margins they're talking about and things like that. I mean, it seems inviting, but that's not who we are. And in each of those cases, they also get involved with people's personal decisions. Right now, all of a sudden, we're getting involved in how people feel about masks or not. I'm willing to comply with regulations, but I don't want to be dictatorial in that regard. And then hand sanitizers, it's tough for that kind of thing to be organic, right? And so weren't willing to sacrifice for short-term gains all this equity we built up with our partners, and they've built up with their audience, right? And so that's why you're just not going to see that from us.
Yeah. Whenever it's amazing the things that people recognize and see. And one of the biggest questions, I wouldn't say the biggest, but one of the questions I've gotten asked more about anything is, okay, where do we get that shaker bottle? Any ideas on that, or if you plan on putting it in the store, or what's the secret?
Oh, the shaker bottles. So we did buy a lot of shaker bottles, and we're going to be using them here for the next couple of months related to promotions, but eventually they will make it onto the store.
Awesome. Yeah. It's funny. Yeah, it's and you see how the comments show up over here. Well, on Saturday, we didn't look. Here's another one. Yep.
But it keeps people attending the event, right? If we give out shaker bottles, then they want to be at the live event, right? So we're holding on to the shaker bottle.
Well, here we have the benefit of having comment sections over here. And people are commenting. They're commenting on the YouTube channel. They're commenting on the Facebook page. And so the difference was on Saturday is, as we're watching the event, and right here in front of me, I've got this little handy dandy stand that has my cell phone on it, is at the that's what you see going on right here. What's going on in my text messages. And they were like, where do we get it? How much is it? How do we order it?
Oh, that's great.
It is. So, stuff like that is really cool and it's exciting. And I just want to remind everybody that there is a lot of apparel that you can buy and brand yourself. And the shaker bottle's not back there, but that is a cool thing. And so that's important too. Now, another thing, when you come off an event like this, and you've been doing this, Eddie, for 30 years, when people come off an event like this, the enthusiasm's high, the excitement's high, the energy's high, and everybody wants to get out there and get into and start sharing and sharing the company and sharing the product, because they just feel so encouraged and inspired. And so, here we are, February 16th, and as we know, we've had a record year, and we're heading into, if you remember, last March and April, we ran into the pandemic. And we were thinking, oh my gosh, what's going to happen to the business? Because those, coming out of February, like we are right now, into March, April, May, traditionally in our industry is just, you see the business take off.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so what advice would you have for the people who, now we're also got an event coming up in April, the 17th, which is our next event. And obviously, that'll be part of your answer too, but, always build to the next event. But how do they shake or bottle? How do they bottle that energy, and what advice would you have for them?
Well, twofold. And in part, events like this, right? This event we had, but it could have been that you attended. I mean, back in the day, I remember when Jim Rohn was still with us, and he had his little traveling thing, and he'd come to North Carolina a couple of times a year, and I'd make sure I went because of what that would sort of do for me in terms of just rekindling some of my fire and things like that. But what I began to recognize during the course of my career, and I tell people, I've been doing this for 30 some years, you got to make sure that you have a sort of a practical approach. I know this is going to sound boring, but a practical approach to that excitement, because what you don't want to be is a match, which you strike a match, right? And it's bright and it burns and it dwindles, and eventually it burns your fingertips when it burns out, right? You don't want to be that. You want to be a sustained hot molecule, or whatever the term is that you want to use. And so, what I always found was important was in the moment when I was most excited, it was tempting to make some phone calls, but I found that I could data dump on somebody that wasn't quite ready for my phone call, right? And so the first thing I did was I made myself sit down and just make a note or two about how I was feeling so that I could go back and visit that later, particularly when I had tough days, right? Everybody has tough days. And if you're somehow able to record what it's like on a good day, and you can kind of go back and revisit that when you're having a tough day, right? You can sort of remind yourself, and it can be just a couple sentences. Hey, here's how I'm feeling today. Or call your phone and leave yourself a message or a voice memo, right? If you don't want to write stuff down, but say, I'm so excited. I heard the things I needed to hear. I now know what I need to do, right? And there's an inflection in your voice and things like that. So the first thing, without taking too much time, was I made sure I captured for use at another time how I felt. And then I looked at my calendar to make sure the time I had allotted to my business building activities existed in my calendar. I often found that here I was at an event. I was so excited about it. I was going to make this big difference and build this grand life for Marie and I and the kids eventually, right? And all these things. And so, but then when I looked at my calendar for the next week, it didn't reflect that. I didn't have the 2 hours of prospecting time on Monday that I needed, or the hour and a half on Tuesday that I needed for follow-up calls. So I recognized that for me, I can get so excited that I needed to bring a practical element to it. So I would, when I was most excited and most committed and very clear about what I wanted, right? Very clear, right? I hadn't yet been spoiled by some naysayer that in the future was going to speak to me, right? And not just say no to me, but no, you dummy. And so I made sure that my time commitment was reflective of my excitement. And then I went ahead and just carried that out. And for me, there's a reason now that we brought Craig on board in part for this very reason, because we had gotten a little bit spread thin, was to make sure every couple months there's an event that you can build your business towards. And so this is a cycle that's purposeful, so that everybody listening now, or that someone on here shares information like this with here in the next week or two, I would look at my schedule between now and April 17th and say, have I committed the right amount of time on a daily basis to accomplish what I want to? And my goals in this regard would be how many folks I'm going to have join me on April 17th. That's the first thing, right? And then if let's say I said 20 or 15 or 25, whatever it is, then I would start walking backwards. And how am I going to do that? How many people will I need to speak to this week to have 25 people attend the April 17th event with me, instead of April 1st, right? all of a sudden say to myself, all right, I got to get 25 people to the event. That isn't developing a business, right? Those are temporary little actions that probably aren't going to yield long-term what you want. And so I'm a person that I capture my emotion, I capture my commitment. I then think about my schedule. I look at what's next for me, and what's next for me is April 17th. And for me, if I were in the field, I'd have blinders on to anything else. I mean, I know there's some other stuff coming, but that's immaterial. It's April 17th, and how can I elevate my team, get them on board, building to that event? How many people can I go ahead and get solidly in the business, getting product experiences, right? So that now my business can take a whole nother leap. Other people in my organization can capture and have and enjoy the same emotional reaction that I did on April 17th. And then we're into June, right?
Yep.
And then we're into a live event in September. And so that's how I would use these things in a very practical way, because we're adults, right? We're only in a race against ourselves, but you each have standards and things that you want. And so when we finish 2021, I want you to have all those things you wished for and wanted. And that means we need to start walking towards them right now.
Absolutely. That's great. That's great information. And one of the things that is, a lot of times what happens at these events is that the people that we bring to the event, they'll hear something or they'll hear someone, and these events are belief building events, and they inspire people, and they build their belief. They build their belief when they can hear the CEO come on and share his heart and share what's going on. They build belief when they hear that new person who we had that says, hey, this person just joined us in their first year. They rank advanced 4 times. And they can see and hear from those people. And I think it's so important too, just to be able to share those stories with people. And a lot of times we think that it's all about telling and selling, but it's really about building a relationship and sharing the stories. Whether or not you've got your story right now, you can say, and if you can elaborate on that a little bit about how just Jamie's story and her success over the past year will really hit home with some people. Or it could be, the story that AJ told, or it could be the story that somebody else shared. And so a lot of times when what happens and what we don't realize is that builds our belief that if they can do it, I can do it too. But sometimes we leave it there when we really need to be sharing those.
You could not be more spot on. And so I'll give everybody something that I picked up along the way. So I used to attend events like this, and I'm pretty good about taking notes. That isn't to say that I can always read my notes afterwards, but I'm pretty good about in the moment writing my notes. And maybe there's a few of you that can relate to what I'm saying. And I would find that when I was returning from events, I would have these multiple pages of notes, but I didn't do a good job, particularly early in my career, of going back and visiting those notes once I got home. They tended to stack up, and I held on to them like they were a precious jewel, right? They were a monument of this thing that I just did, which was important. But what I later realized was, instead of just putting them there, I needed to put them to use. And so I would make myself, whether I was driving back from something or whether I was on an airplane or whatever it was, and even if it meant when I got home at 11 at night, even though I was dog tired, I would just make myself take 20 or 30 minutes, look at my notes, and try to think through the day and think of the 4 to 6 things. I don't care if I had 25 pages of notes, the 4 to 6 things that really stood out for me. And in fact, I often thought, when I was trying to think about the event and look at my notes, anything I forgot didn't make a big impression, right? It may have been important, but for whatever reason, it sort of washed away from me. That's why at the event Saturday, I said, think about these things tonight, not tomorrow, while they're fresh. And I would take 4 to 6 things. Maybe it was a phrase, or maybe it was somebody's story, other people's stories, right? We call it OPS. And I would put those in, I would take all those notes. I'd condense that down to a half a sheet of paper. these at 6 bullet points or 4 bullet points reflecting what I wanted to capture, and then find a way to utilize them. So I'll give you some things right up front for me. If I were in the audience on Saturday, there's a few things that really would have stood out for me. One was the product testimonials. I would have shared the story about the dog. Everybody loves dogs, right? And people are willing to spend money on their dogs, right? And so, we offer a great CBD product for dogs, which can be a gateway to other introductions. I might think about, who do I know that's got a dog? I want to tell this great story to about how Nathan just said the name of the product. The dog came running, and then the dog was chewing up on the pipette, right? I mean, it's a great story. I would have probably recorded and retold Jamie's story, this wonderful young woman that's overcome a lot, and look at what she's doing in less than a year's period of time with all these things that she's headwinds. She was fighting middle of COVID, all this kind of stuff going on, and she's climbed through our compensation through 3 ranks, right? Or 4 ranks. I'd find a way to tell that story, right? I would find a way to tell that story. I was inspired by that story. I would tell your story, Alan, because you're in my peer group, right? I would tell them about my buddy Alan and the leadership he's shown and how he's managed all these other issues in his life, right? So I would have these 4 to 6 things that made this strong impression on me. Maybe one of them would be, hey, this company I'm working with, you can't believe what they're doing, with this app. I mean, it's just crazy. Off our phones, we run this whole enterprise. Or it might be the story about how they grew, right? So I'd have 4 to 6 things that would be in my conversations between now and April. I would begin to own those stories. And so, everyone listening, you've got to find your own way of doing this. But I want to use those events more than just the emotional pump they give me, right? The sort of body pump they give me. I want to put them to good use. And this is how you do that. Here's another thing I would do, though. Now, as you're talking to people on your team about how you used your notes, right now you can begin to teach them to do the same thing, because they're sitting there with a pile of notes just like you. What do I do? And so I would take a very practical approach to putting that material to work for you.
Yeah. That's great. And one of the things that people don't realize is, and it took me a long time to realize this. I remember early in this network marketing business, and this, because it was different than the corporate world. And what we did is because in the corporate world, it was a job, and you were held accountable. And if you didn't do your job and perform every month, then you were terminated. You're out. And people come to an event like this, they attend an event like this, whether it be virtual or even the live event we're going to have in September. And I'm getting hit up like, where are we going? What is it? And I keep telling everybody, Eddie doesn't tell me. But people need to realize something, and that is this, is we are all the same. And they're in the enthusiasm and excitement that we feel for each one of us, it's going to fade some days. There's going to be days when we tell ourselves these, what I'm calling red light stories, which is, oh man, I came back, I was excited. I talked to 4 people today and they all told me no. And I think the big thing that they don't realize is everybody goes through that. And it's a matter of learning how to, as you mentioned, pull out your notes or whatever it takes to get yourself to get back in the batter's box. Because just like, we talk about sports analogies a lot, but hey, you may have just come, and this is one of the biggest things that a lot of people struggle with. I remember a saying that we used to have, I've heard many times, that said, the biggest predictor of future failure is current success. Now, what does that mean? Well, that means that if you look at the Super Bowl this past year, the Kansas City Chiefs, and they were like favored to win. They had the better team. And here's this new rookie team and I say rookie, a lot of old men on there who came in, but it was the first year they had come together. And what Brady did is he went in and created belief. And these other ones came in riding high on their victory and their ego. And look at the season, look at our record versus their record, and we're going to spank them. And they didn't even score a touchdown. So we all feel that. And so, what over your 30-year career, I'm sure you've had the same thing, ups, downs, frustrations, excitement. And how do you approach that as you move forward to get that balance and consistency?
Well, the good news is, right, at the event on Saturday, we saw a representation of that young dynamic, as well as a representation of, let's call it the Brady Dynamics, somebody that's been around a while having success. And so whomever you related to there, that's the story that you could adopt. And what I mean by that is, wherever you are, right, if you give yourself the latitude in the room, you can make the room to do it, you can make the event work for you. You can say, and I tried to convey this when I was making my closing remarks on Saturday, because I have a real sensitive place for someone that's not yet met the full measure of their potential, right? And so the way I think about that is, for whatever reason, no one's yet turned the light on for them, either themselves or somebody else. Because in life, sometimes somebody else turns the light on for you, and sometimes you turn it on yourself, right? And it doesn't matter. It's just important that the light get turned on, right? That's what's important. And when you attend events like this, you're in part positioning yourself to have the light turned on, right? Some people come into that event on Saturday, the light's on, they're steaming ahead, right? And they're coming there for just an additional bit of fuel, right? Because the flywheel's rolling, right? They just need it to lightly be touched, because there were people at the event on Saturday, both in the audience and on the virtual stage, so to speak, that they're going to be successful regardless of what you and I do this year. Right. That's because they're just there with that. But there were others that things haven't quite clicked yet. So was there something there on Saturday that you can use either to keep your continuous flywheel turning, or to get locked in and say, you know what, I attended this event on Saturday and things for me just finally clicked. I'm willing to be vulnerable enough to say that to someone. I think one of the things I've seen that concerns me for people is that they're waiting for some type of success before they speak to their best audience, right? I bet you've heard that, right? Yeah. Well, as soon as I make a check, I'm going to talk to that person. Well, you may never talk to them because that strategy is poor, right? Because you may need to partner with them to get to where you want to, right? So if you're willing to say, hey, listen, I know, Alan, you and I have often talked about doing more than we're doing, that we're not going in the direction we want to go. We're not getting ahead where we are. And if we just keep doing this thing we're doing, right, that 5 years from now, 10 years from now, we're still going to be talking about finally doing something, right? You can go to that person you've had that conversation with and say, hey, listen, it finally clicked for me on Saturday. I mean, I hate to say it's taken me 35 years for it to click, but it finally clicked for me on Saturday, and thank gosh it clicked. Right? I didn't want it to happen in my 45th year. Whatever the story is, there's a way to say things clicked for me, and now I understand. It's just a matter of talking to enough people till I find the ones that are looking for something, better health, better financial opportunity, whatever their terms are, right? Whatever your story is and your truth is, that's enough. But what I've just described is a level of vulnerability. That means you got to shut down your ego a little bit. You got to wipe away that plastic face you've had of trying to just shine for people when you're not really shining, right? I'll tell you, I believe we live in a world today where authenticity is deeply rewarded if you've done your homework, right? If you know what you're doing and what you're talking about. So I didn't mean for that to get so esoteric, but if I'm someone there either that's plowing ahead or not yet plowing, there's still good things at that event that I can utilize to get myself in gear, right? Yeah. Don't just keep thinking about it though. Take some chances on yourself, right? Put yourself in gear.
Yeah. Yeah, and because we talked about one of the things that I mentioned at Saturday was you'll see it when you believe it, and in this industry, it is so true in that, and people get confused on that. But see, here's the deal: your believability is hearing the story about Jamie. The believability is hearing about someone else who is just like me, or maybe even has addressed more challenges than me, that's having success and recognizing that, if they can do it, I can do it too. And then the comment that you just made about that really hits home, and this is something that I try to tell people all the time is, and it goes back to one of the sayings that we have, which is, we're just simply looking for people who are looking for, whether they're looking
Yeah.
for an opportunity for better health, or looking for an opportunity for time freedom, whether they're looking for an opportunity to create additional income on a part-time basis. And the key is for us to meet them where they are and find out what it is they're looking for, and say, hey, I've got an opportunity I'd like for you to take a look at. And then when you share, and the tools that we have are so powerful. But this is now I tell people, I was just talking to a young lady today. I was on a 3-way call, and I said, if you can simply click and share a video, then you can have success in this business, because we have the videos available, whether it be, one of the, and I'm not sure the numbers, I'm sure you're able to see the numbers, but one of the most popular videos and tools that we have is still the 9-year-old tractor with the square tires.
Absolutely.
People just love that video, and it resonates with them because it is a great example of what our core values are when it comes to nutrition. And it speaks to so many people in such a way that they go, that is simple, but makes so much sense. And so I say to people all the time, you don't have to, one of the things that holds them back is, well, I'm not sure what to do or what to say. Well, you simply say, here, I'll send you a link. And let the tools do the work for you. That way you don't have to worry about that. And you'll find out what they're looking for.
It can be as simple as saying to someone, do you have 2 minutes? If I'm wrong, you wasted 2 minutes, and I pre-apologize for that. But just 2 minutes. And when it's over, you can say, that resonated so much to me that I made a decision that those are the products that I wanted my family to use and myself to use. And I see an opportunity here, right? And then you can just take the questions there. The challenge isn't that someone may reject that offer. The challenge is people aren't making the offer.
That's right.
At the end of the day, Alan, that's what it is. And people have to, one, they have to do the thing, and two, they have to imagine the success of it, right? I mean, another thing I said on Saturday, which is, for anybody that's seen me speak at length, I say this quite a bit. I say, why not you? Let me tell you how I use that. When I first got started years ago, my success ratio was really poor. Now, in hindsight, I know what it was. I said too much. I was a terrible listener. There's a lot of things I was doing so that people, whatever I was trying to communicate, just wasn't getting through. it was just noise. I was creating noise, and people have so much noise in their life. They didn't need more noise from me, right? But I kept forging ahead because I would just look around and say, well, I can at least do as much as that person, right? I've at least got as much on the ball as that person or that person, right? I would find ways to look at someone, not being diminutive of them, but just saying, hey, I'm at least that good. Maybe it'll take me twice as long, but I can at least do that, right? So you got to go do the thing, but you got to imagine yourself doing the thing successfully. You got to think, I can do this, right? And whatever you need to see or hear to think that, that's on you, right? That's on you to create that inspiration. We're adults here. And I'll tell you right up front, Alan and I may get lucky and say some things that you find are inspirational, but our job isn't here to inspire you. That one's on you, right? We're adults. You got to find the inspiration in your circumstances you want to make better, or what you're hearing and seeing on a Saturday, which is speaking to exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, and that's so true because our responsibility is to the company's responsibility is to provide you with a vehicle, the tools, the product, the processing, the collection part, the commission structure. That's the company's responsibility. And those of you who have been with other companies like I have, there's not another company out there that does it like we do. I still can't. It still amazes me, Eddie, that we've been talking about what we do now and the tools and the systems and the marketing that the company does for. I don't know when you first started marketing that way with the trackers and that sort of thing. I want to say like 4 or 5 years ago. And
5 years.
5 years. And it just blows me away that and I guess maybe because we're like flying under the radar, that nobody's doing that. Nobody's doing it.
It's expensive, and they're not prepared to make the investment.
Yeah. Yeah. Just talking to a gentleman the other day, and he was talking about a company that you sign up, and when you sign up with a company, you don't get an affiliate marketing site. You don't get you want that? That's $29.95 a month extra. And this is a company that has the Verb app. You want the Verb app? It's an extra $9.99 a month. So now you're into it for $39 a month, not counting the auto ship. But they were bragging about the amount of commission they pay out. And I'm like, well, and of course, those are numbers that nobody knows really what it is. It's a privately held company. They can say whatever they want to say, but they're struggling. And it's like, well, I just can't. We look at all we have, and I just say that so people understand. And we're just, and you look at them and go, how are you even in business? How are you surviving? And so the company's role is to provide the vehicle, the tools, the training, the processing. We don't have to pay collection fees. We don't have to have an account with MasterCard, FedEx. We don't have to do all that. The companies, that's their role. And what people don't realize is our role is to, yes, we want to market the products and we want to share blog posts, all these amazing tools, but the rubber meets the road. Your job is to say, are you interested in taking a look at this opportunity to create some additional income on a part-time basis? And if the answer is no, are you interested in the products to improve your health and your family's health and really make a difference in the longevity of your life and your family's life? And until you ask that question, you're just an unpaid marketing person. Unpaid. And so when you said that a minute ago, so many times that gets overlooked. But if you don't do anything else, that's the one thing that you get paid to do, is when somebody goes in your back office and signs up and buys product. Yeah. So that's what I think the key is the excitement that we feel, the enthusiasm that we feel. Jim Rome, I'll never forget, Jim Rome said, this is something that, Jim says a lot of things that make you laugh. And he said, you go to these crazy events where they have all these people and they do the rah-rah and the music and the balloons and the parades and all this stuff, and they don't teach them anything. He said, so you got a bunch of people leaving there that are idiots and are motivated idiots. He said, but they don't know what to do because they don't have the tools and they don't go out and put it into place. And here we're so lucky that we have the tools, but you're right. We have to pick up that. And I love what we're focusing on right now. One of the tools that we have is, yes, we've got an activity tracker, a team activity tracker that is great for, and here's a mistake that I made, Eddie, and I'm raising my hand because when I first came out with the activity tracker, I talked about, reaching out to 30 people a day, reaching out to 40 people a day, reaching out to 200 people a week. And it just went, everybody was like, whew, I can't do that. Like, oh my God, how many people? But see, what I love now is the simple thing, which makes it easy that anybody can do this. Just reach out to 2 people a day and have 10 people that you're working with in your funnel that you're working with. So 2 new people a day. And if you want to take Sunday off, then that is 6 days a week. That's 12 people. And if you do that for 51 weeks out of the year, because most people take the week of Christmas off, we realize that. If you just do that, the minimum, you're going to have great success.
If people just do that, Alan, between now and the April 17th event, they'll have more people at the event than they had at the first one. And the example they will have established for their team will cause them to do the same. I mean, it really can be that simple. You know, the nuts and bolts of your story twice a day.
Yep.
Yeah, we don't. I think sometimes people think we're holding back some life-changing secret, and I promise we're giving you all we got.
It's not. It's as simple as just doing that and just sharing the information, because we're looking for people that are looking, and you hear this too. You can't say the wrong thing to the right person. Now, you can't say the right thing to the wrong person, but let's go back and say, you can't say, you say, I was just speaking with someone yesterday, and they go, well, you know, you sent me 3 different scripts, and I did, but they're all the same script. They're just worded a little different, because I want people to feel like they can kind of make it their own. Which one do you use most? And I said, you're missing the point. It's not about which one you use. It's just a matter of asking the question.
Yeah.
If I just simply call you up and say, Eddie, hey, thanks for taking my call. Listen, I've got something. I want you to take a look at it. May or may not be for you, but I'm excited about it, and I'd love to partner with you. And so if you're interested, I'll send you some information. If not, no big deal. If I just simply asked you that, you're going to be curious. And if you say, well, tell me about it, say, listen, I'd rather just send you a link, let you take a look, and then we'll follow up. So you don't have to tell them about it. Because the fact of the matter is as you mentioned earlier in your career, we, especially after coming off an event like that, and we're so excited, that where do you begin explaining this company and this opportunity to someone that says, tell me about it? Well, I'd rather send you a 4-minute video let that do the work for me, and then follow up and say, what do you think? And I think a mistake that I used to make in the past is I thought everybody was excited about the same thing I was excited about.
Right.
That goes to the listening part.
Yeah.
To the listening. So when I say to you, what did you like most about the video? And you say, you know, that company's philosophy on products and purity that really made a lot of sense to me. I'm not going to blurt out, and did you see where they give you a free car?
Right. Yeah. That first acknowledgement was enough.
That's it. They may not. Number one, there's people that I've literally had people say to me, well, you're not going to get a Tesla, are you? Those things will break down. They're just too new, and you don't want one of those. And I said, it's over $100,000 car that's free. If it breaks down, it's okay. It's under warranty. You know, you want to say that. But see, I might turn somebody off trying to lead them to what I think's important, instead of, as you said, listening to them to find out what's important to them.
Yeah, that's exactly the answer.
Yeah. So, well, listen, anything we need to add before we jump off here? We've been on here for 48 minutes. I can't believe it.
You know what? Just capture this moment. Right. Alan said it earlier, you know, traditionally speaking, it's true for us too. Now's as good a time as there is from a seasonal standpoint. You know, I think we'll still have opportunity in the summer, but man, if there's any relief from this pandemic this summer, you're not going to be able to get people's attention. We still got people. I mean, I'll tell you what I would do. I'm empathetic to what's going on in Texas. Maria's brother lives down there, and we've got a bunch of great friends. But not everybody in Texas is without power, but everybody in Texas is at home. So I would be calling, right? Somebody's bored right now. Having lived through storms like that here in North Carolina, setting aside, you know, safety issues that you concern yourself with, it can get bored real quick when you're kind of waiting for things to thaw out, right? And so, you know, take advantage and make the calls.
Yeah. And, you know, to that point, and so in today's world, it's not like, 15 years ago, when I remember in Louisville, North Carolina, we're without power, snowed in for 3.5 days before the power came back on, I had a generator outside that had extension cords running in my house. And when you're out power, we didn't have television. There was no internet. There was none of that. But today, as people, because people say to me, well, I'm not sure who to talk to or whatever, they're raising their hand out there going, hey, we're stuck in the storm, or hey, look at these pictures, or hey, this. And as you communicate with them and create a relationship, or just reactivate a relationship, the people that you know, because they're friends with you on social media for a reason, you can say, hey, as you said, you got a minute to catch up? Well, sure. I'm sitting here bored eating soup that I cooked on my hot stove, on my wood burning stove. Yeah, because guess what's going to work? Their cell phone. You know? And then you can just talk to them about it, and they go, well, shoot, there you go. So that's great advice. Great advice. Well, listen, there's Denise said, thank you, Denise. We appreciate that. I didn't
Thank you, Denise.
say that, but and here's one that I always love seeing. I'm not sure who that is, but Touchstone Products and the family and the feeling, because this is one of the biggest things that I know that I feel good about, having worked with multiple companies in the industry, having spoken with someone just today who is with a previous company, is with another company. They just don't. What we have is rare. Just the culture, the community, the family atmosphere, and the fact that we just bring it all together in a community where everybody loves each other. It's just powerful, you know.
I feel the same.
We just don't have the drama here, and I love it.
Yeah.
I really do. Well, Eddie, thanks for taking your time.
Thank you, Alan. Thanks everybody for attending.
Absolutely, and so we've got stuff coming up tomorrow night. We've got a training at 9 p.m. where Denise Longton is joining me, and we are going to talk about a very simple 5-step process for onboarding new people to get them started so that they have success in their first 30 days. Have success.
Sounds great.
And the goal for that is to have them enroll 4 to 5 people in their first 30 days.
Love
because
it.
if they get 4 or 5 of their friends on board in their first 30 days, they can't quit because they're not going to leave their friends behind.
No.
Thanks, Eddie. I appreciate it. Hope everybody
Alan.
has a great night, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye, guys.